Hello everyone and welcome to another iRacing video. For this one I'm taking a look at the Mercedes AMG GT4 that was just released in conjunction to its big brother, the AMG GT3 2020. Alright, from the outside we see it's a bit more simple yet sleek design compared to the GT3, resembling more closely to the commercial version of the GT car one might see driving around town in the real world. And of course it sounds great. Now let's go inside. And while we're in the cockpit, let's take a look at how it looks from the inside. Okay, this is a view from the passenger side. And a view from the driver's side. And taking a look quickly at the console here, we see it's pretty simple, and there's only two configurations. This is the page 1 configuration. And in the page 2 configuration, we get the tire pressures of all 4 tires. Okay, and one more look from the outside here. And as I said, pretty sleek looking car. Okay, so instead of just taking it out for a race like I did with the GT3, I decided to do a head-to-head comparison with the only other GT4 car I own, the McLaren 570S GT4. And since the circuit Gilles Villeneuve is the first race on the GT4 series calendar, and it's coming up in a few weeks in Formula 1 as well, I decided to do the comparison here. Track and weather conditions were held the same, the track temp coming at 78 degrees on the 2 laps I'm going to be showing you here. And then for setup, I used the iRacing Sprint Fix setup, which was available for both cars. Okay, so the Merc is a little bit heavier feeling, more difficult to rotate compared to the McLaren, which felt a little bit more nimble and easy to rotate in and out of the corners. In the heavy braking zones, I was noticeably maxing or near maxing the braking power to 100% in the Merc to get it to slow down enough, while the McLaren I was keeping in the 75 to 85% range, using the same braking markers. Now this is speaking probably more to the need to adjust my driving style a bit more to this front engine car. Another note, I can drop the hammer on the throttle a little bit more quickly in the McLaren than I felt I could in the Mercedes, where I had to be a little bit more gradual until the car completely rotated. Otherwise, I felt like the back end was going to snap oversteer on me, which it did a few times throughout practicing. Then on the high-speed corners, the Mercedes is a little bit more on the edge feeling than the McLaren. And this could be felt in the wheel and also more so in hearing it. Sorry about that. Which could be felt more so than heard by the intensity of the tire squealing. Then a few times I did go over that limit with the Mercedes, where the McLaren I never quite did. And last but not least, the Mercedes did manage to reach that 1 to 3 miles per hour faster going down the straights and coming out of turns, even though I was getting on the power more quickly with the McLaren. So looking back through the side-by-side, the Merc seemed to have a little bit better acceleration, which offsets its initial being a little bit slower to get on the power coming out of turns. As the lap finishes up, you can see we finished with a 145.736 in the Mercedes and a 145.912 in the McLaren. Now, I am by no means a hot lap expert, so don't come to this video for that. But it was just a means just to see how different cars handle compared to each other. Okay, so I'm going to go on a little bit more depth. This is the big hairpin that goes back onto that very long back straight on the circuit. As you can see, we're actually ahead in the McLaren ever so slightly before coming up to this braking zone. So the McLaren at the line is going 117 miles per hour. The Mercedes, by the time it gets to the line, is going 119 miles per hour. So that's what I'm talking about when it's a little bit faster down these straights. And it's able to kind of catch up what it was down by coming out of that last turn. Okay, we hit the braking zone at just after the passing this asphalt, and the grass reappears. We're at, as we're about to go into brake, we're at 127 miles per hour in the McLaren. And when we hit that same spot in the Mercedes, so it's pretty consistent with the braking zones here, we were at 128. 127 to 128. But as you can see, I'm reaching 90. I'm reaching 90 on the McLaren, up to 91 was the highest I peaked at. While on the Mercedes, I peaked at 100. That's kind of, you kind of have to go a little bit harder on the brake. I don't know if maybe it could be maybe a setup thing, or maybe a little bit more adjustment on the brake bias. Maybe able to handle that actually a little bit better. Then we do pretty good at trail braking with both. And as you can see through these plots down here, sorry for the side-by-side line cutting through it, but you can see how I was a lot more gradual on the throttle, and I was a little bit more aggressive on the throttle with the McLaren. It just felt during the time I could do that. In retrospect, maybe I could have been a little bit more softer coming out of the McLaren, and it would have rotated even more faster. But I don't know, at the time I was driving it, felt when I did it was fine to do it. Okay, so then we get to the next. As you can see, we're already pulling even, just maybe a little bit more ahead on the Mercedes now, coming out of the hairpin. And then when we get to the tip of that curb, red and white curb, we're going 82 miles per hour in the Mercedes, and we're just hitting 80 miles per hour in the McLaren. And another good mark here, the DRS line, we're hitting 111 miles per hour. We're just switched over 110 miles per hour on the McLaren. And by the time we get down here towards the Wall of Champions, that chicane that goes into the Wall of Champions, I love that name of the turn, by the way. The 3 sign. So we're going 146. When we hit that 3 sign, when I start braking in McLaren, we're only going 143. So we definitely carried a lot more speed through the straight in the Mercedes. And, you know, it could be a function as well. It's hard to say. I mean, it could be a function of just how much better we got out of that hairpin. At face value, it is kind of looking like you get a slight better acceleration with that Mercedes down the straights. So, all right, folks, there you have it. There's my first ever comparison video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button. It'd be very much appreciated, and it helps with the algorithm to promote this video. Overall thoughts, though, I just want to say I really did enjoy driving the GT4 Mercedes, and I do look forward to using it this season. And if you're going to use it this season, also let me know down in the comments. And in the meantime, you can go check out one of my other videos up in the right-hand corner. And until next time, safe driving.